Thank you for everybody for showing up here this afternoon for this announcement. First of all, I want to extend a welcome to Ms. Olford, the President of Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, who joined us for this announcement. Also, Jamie Chibbett, the Deputy Minister. Very pleased to have Jamie here also to provide any additional information. Also want to recognize Heather Tizard. Where's Heather? As the ADM, who have worked, did a lot of work on this also. Heather, thank you very much. Put a lot of time and energy into it, and I just want to recognize that, Heather. Thank you for that. I'd like to recognize Craig Pollitt. Where's Craig? Craig Pollitt, he is the CEO of Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador. Dwayne Antle, who's the President of the Association of Firefighters Services, couldn't make it here today. And I also want to recognize Graham Leto. Graham also is the Parliamentary Assistant, past President of MNL. So Graham, thank you for all your help and support with this. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank the communities and our emergency management partners for the help and support during the windstorm over the weekend. Just want to recognize Jamie Chibbett. Jamie has been involved with this the whole weekend with myself and the Premier and others on that. Dave McCormick, Dave Fire Emergency Services, who's an expert in his own field, and Aaron Shea. Aaron was the communications person who was getting things out, and I just want to recognize that, Aaron. You did a great job the weekend to getting the information out to people, and getting so thank you very much for that. It was good to see the municipalities following best practices for emergency response and utilize their emergency management plans to support residents in their time of need. We will continue to work with municipalities as they assess the damages and to offer assistance where possible. Today, the Department of Municipal Affairs and Environment is introducing a new 3-year municipal infrastructure program aimed at strengthening our province infrastructure, providing better access to water, protecting our environment by investing in water, wastewater infrastructure, and advancing regional collaboration through infrastructure and sharing of services. The announcement of this program delivers on action number 1.24 in the Provincial Government vision for the way forward to advance regional collaboration through infrastructure and sharing of services. Despite the province's current fiscal situation, our government is investing significantly in maintaining our infrastructure to strengthen our communities. This is why we will be investing $100 million in a multi-capital works program. Multi-year communities will receive $70 million over 3 years, and we will invest $10 million each year through the Municipal Capital Works program. In addition to the funding provided under the program, the provincial government continues to leverage federal funding to maximize infrastructure investment in the province, which is a main initiative of the way forward. By providing funding of $35 million over the next 2 years, an overall investment by the federal, provincial, and municipal partners of $60 million will occur through the Small Communities Funds of the new Building Canada Fund. Despite our financial strain, we will leverage additional funding, which will result in significant investments in infrastructure over the next 3 years and onward. In total, these investments, along with already approved projects, are expected to result in $209 million in federal, provincial, and municipal expenditures on infrastructure projects in the coming fiscal year. The provincial government is anticipating the release of details from the federal government of its Phase 2 infrastructure plan. We are committed to acquire every available dollar through federal infrastructure funding and leave no federal funds on the table. We will be providing municipalities with multi-year funding information to allow communities to better plan and manage their infrastructure projects. This information will be available on the website. Also, every municipality in the 22 were also contacted last week, so they're well aware of the announcement today and the funding for the multi-year towns. In 2017-18, we will be accepting applications again for additional Municipal Capital Works projects and an additional small community funds project, as well as for any programs that may be available for that time under the new Federal Infrastructure Fund. In 2018-19, we will again be accepting applications for additional Municipal Capital Works projects, as well as further federal infrastructure funding under the second round of small community funding. Our department will regularly update this multi-year funding information as it is received, especially as it relates to the new anticipated federal funding programs. This will allow municipalities to better plan and manage budgets, resources on ongoing infrastructure projects with upcoming infrastructure investment opportunities. This year, we're also introducing a new approach to our provincial municipal cost-shared ratios to allow our infrastructure programs to be sustainable while facilitating spending on priority projects. In response to consultations with stakeholders, the program's new approach to cost-shared ratio incentives regionalize collaboration through infrastructure and sharing of services. We heard from municipalities at the Premier's Forum that drinking water and management of wastewater is a priority, and this is a priority for our government as well. For new projects, current cost-share ratios will remain the same for priority projects, which include water, wastewater, and disaster mitigation projects. These types of projects, provincial municipal cost-shared ratios will be made at 90-10 for communities with less than 3,000 population, 80-20 for communities between 3,000 and 7,000, and 70-30 for communities with more than 7,000 people. The municipal share for firefighting vehicles and equipment will increase by 10%. In other words, ratios will be 80-20, 70-30, 60-40 for the relative population bands I've just mentioned. Going forward, recreational projects and municipal buildings, including fire halls, will be cost-shared 60-40, while roads and other funding requests will be cost-shared at 50-50. We heard from many of you at the Premier's Forum that we should introduce incentives for regional collaboration through infrastructure and sharing of services. As such, for any project that is regional in nature, the cost-shared ratio will drop by 10% unless the project already falls within the 90-10 category. Our department, and after this last weekend also, it's another great reminder why through M&L and through the department, is pleased to say that generators will now be a category for cost shared under the Municipal Infrastructure Program for warming stations. We have heard from numerous communities that this equipment can be important as alternate backup power supplies for water systems or to assist in creating effective warming shelters in the event of emergencies. As Minister responsible for emergency services, I want to make this a priority. These adjustments to our infrastructure program will save approximately $10 million over the next 3 years, which will be reinvested back into our infrastructure program, thereby funding a greater number of projects with the same amount of investment. Over the next 3 years, anticipated infrastructure spending through federal, provincial, and municipal funding is expected to total over $580 million. We will do it by being fiscally prudent and investing wisely, by maximizing and utilizing every available dollar from our federal partners. On an annual basis, that kind of investment will result in 1,275 person years of employment and an additional $147 million in economic benefit. I want to extend appreciation to the officials within the Department of Municipal Affairs and Environment for their hard work on these initiatives for municipalities that we're announcing here today. Also, I want to extend my thanks to the federal government, in particular the Honourable Judy Foote, Minister of Public Services and Procurement, Karen Olford, President of M&L, Brian Peckford, President of Municipal Administrators, and Dwayne Antle, who was involved, who's the President of the Association of Newfoundland Labrador Fire Services, who couldn't make it today. Thank you to the community leaders, employees, and volunteers that work very hard, diligently, to support and run our communities day in and day out, and who work closely with us to our advanced infrastructure program and other priorities. I'm going to turn it over to Karen, but before I do, I just want to say thank you to yourself and Craig. I know they were supposed to fly out west, but they canceled they delayed their trip until tomorrow so they could be here today to be part of this. So I just want to recognize that and say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. I've got a little bug that I've been trying to fight off for the past few weeks or so my voice is not quite the same, but we're very pleased to be able to be here with you today and take part in this announcement. It's really important for our communities and for our municipal sector, and certainly the municipal sector understands the importance of investing strategically in projects within our areas. So we're really glad to see the province has been able to make this commitment in leveraging all the federal funding was there. We were really concerned when we look at the economic realities of our province that we weren't going to be able to leverage that funding. So the fact that your departments have been able to do that is a really good way forward for our communities and for our province as we move forward. The investment announced today ensures we'll receive all of that funding and that the sector is going to be able to use that to provide sustainable resources to our residents. So in addition to being able to achieve the funding, we're really pleased to see that the multi-year capital works plan and the pre-announcing of the dates for the next 3 years is going to allow planning for our municipalities to be much better. Right? People will know when the deadlines are, they'll know when they need to have the projects ready to submit to get the funding that's available, and that's really going to help because planning is so important for all 3 levels of our government. We're also really delighted that we've been able to work with the province and the federal government on a long-term municipal infrastructure plan for our province. And as you know, we had that first meeting just prior to Christmas, and we look forward to continuing that work as we move forward in making these strategic investments. We owe it to our taxpayers in our province to collaborate on how we spend their money. A joint plan ensures that this kind of critical infrastructure investment is planned, effective, and sustainable for our next generations. The focus on regional cooperation in today's announcement is really important as well. Encouraging regional cooperations on infrastructure projects is a very good first step. We know that the demographics in Newfoundland and Labrador are changing dramatically, and that we're really concerned as municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador what that will mean for delivery of municipal services and for democracy. And so by working now to encourage people to work together collaboratively and to have better benefit from that financially is really going to help us as we move to the next steps of regional government. Providing clear financial encouragement really helps to start to build the bridges that we need for a more sustainable future. Again, Mr. Minister, thank you, and I really look forward to working with your department and all levels of government as we work to create a sustainable province and sustainable communities.
Thank you.